All right, everybody ready? Best part. For those of you who haven't met before, I'm Dr. Jared. I'm the founder of our clinic. I do want to appreciate your time tonight. I know that your time is very valuable to you. The reason we do this is very simple. The initial information that I'll share with you tonight pertains to everyone. What I'll show you up here on this television screen are both normal and abnormal x-rays, so that when you go back with your doctor privately to view your x-rays, you're going to know, number one, exactly what you're looking at, but more importantly, how it relates to you and your health. Because I will tell you, most people come in here because they hurt. Headaches, neck pain, back pain, those are the top 3 reasons that people seek out chiropractic treatment in America today. And so it surprises people sometimes when their blood pressure goes down, when they sleep better, when their acid reflux goes away, when things that you may never have even considered improve through a chiropractic adjustment improve. I want you to understand why, and more importantly, understand how that can affect you. Now, I will tell you, I was one of those rare few people that came in no pain. I first went to a chiropractor for asthma. And not asthma I'd had my entire life, but asthma that I developed following a weightlifting injury. I was 16 years old. I was at the Freeport YMCA. I was lifting weights with 2 of my best friends. And I finished a set. I handed the bar, it was a 125-pound bar, to one of my friends, and he caught it. But he was talking, and so he didn't grasp it fully, and it rolled back out of his hands, landed right here. First time it hit, it fractured 7 different spots in my face. Hit hard enough, if you can imagine, it bounced off my face and landed here. I have a large scar right here in my forehead. As you might imagine, I was put in an ambulance, went to the hospital, and within a week had 2 very large titanium plates inserted into my face, one starting all the way down here, the second finishing right here in the center, and then over here, when it was still called the Rockford Memorial, had a 6.5-hour plastic surgery just to make that left side look normal again. One thing I always say is I feel like they did a pretty good job. Never had anybody notice. It's all fake. It's all reconstructed. In fact, within about 3 weeks, I looked fine. I felt fine. But what happened is similar to if somebody was in a car accident, or if you've ever had a sports injury or fallen and really hit your head. What happened was when it hit, I was leaning forward and looking to the right, and so the bar not only fractured my face, but it injured my neck. It gave me whiplash. And so what happened was it damaged the ligaments, and over the course of the next 4 months, my spine and my nerves progressively got worse until finally my first symptom, I was running and I couldn't breathe. And I did what most people would do. I scheduled an appointment with my family doctor, did a whole series of tests, and was diagnosed with asthma, given an inhaler. Over the course of the next 4 months, I ended up having 12 different specialist visits, ended up on 3 different drugs just to be able to breathe, but it's what it took to be functional. And after what I would consider exhausting the traditional medical approach, I had a friend of mine say, you know, it doesn't seem like you're getting the results that you want. You should really come with me to my chiropractor. And I never thought about a chiropractor for asthma, just like that might be true for some of you. And so what happened is I went in with him to his appointment, and what the doctor said struck me, and I hope every single one of you leaves here remembering this, but they said our entire goal here is not only to make you feel better, but to allow your body to heal itself. So that not only do you not have the asthma daily, but you don't need the medication, your body actually heals and you're healthy again. And so I went and had x-rays done, just like you're all here to see. And when I looked at my spine the first time, this normal positive 45-degree curve that you have to have, from that injury, mine had reversed. It was negative 11, completely reversed. So you can imagine how much pinching or how much pressure that was putting on nerves in the lower part of my neck, which, like I said, affected my lungs to the point where finally I developed asthma. Now, that brings up a couple of points. First of all, if you pinch the nerve, how come I didn't also have pain? And so what a lot of people don't realize is that only 10% of your nerves feel pain. 90% of your neurology controls the rest of the function in your body, which is why when I started with this, that you can have other things improve. If you're here because you want your migraines to be better, you also might notice that these same nerves that cause migraines or headaches, they go to your sinuses, so they can affect sinus and allergy issues. They also go to your inner ear, so they can cause things like ringing or dizziness in adults. They can make you more likely to have ear infections as a child. The same nerves control 14 different hormones that your body releases. 2 of the biggest ones that we often see improvement with, number 1 is related to sleep. So right behind your ear. This is right where your brainstem sits. It controls the hormones to cause REM sleep, or the deep sleep, the healing sleep. And the second one is related to mood, specifically serotonin. So how much serotonin your body releases is specifically based on this part of your neurology. Now beyond that, if you go just a little bit farther, these nerves in the middle of the neck, not only can they cause pain, but they go to your thyroid. They can affect your metabolism, your energy. The nerves in the lower neck and upper back, not only do they go to your lungs, so they can affect your breathing like they did for me, but they go to your heart. They can affect things like your blood pressure, your pulse rate. The same nerves are the ones when you hear people say, oh, I hold my stress in my neck, and they're the ones that go down into your arms and hands, can cause things like numbness, burning, tingling, carpal tunnel-like symptoms. All that can come from the lower part of your neck. As you go to the middle part of the back, these are the nerves that start the digestive process. So things like how much insulin your body releases, or how well your stomach digests your food. So things like acid reflux and indigestion all cause from this middle part. As you get to the lower part, again, first of all, the most common area to wear out is somebody ages. So most common area to get arthritis, most common area to bulge or herniated disc. And so again, very common for back pain, but those nerves go to your intestines, your reproductive organs, your adrenals, your kidneys, and for men, the prostate. And not only do they cause pain in the back, but these bottom 5 nerves branch out into a nerve called the sciatic. Has everybody heard of the sciatic before? I know some of you right now are feeling the sciatic nerve, but it's the nerve that goes down into your legs, and just like the ones that can go into your arms, can cause numbness, tingling, or burning in your legs. So like I said, anywhere you pinch a nerve, you absolutely can feel pain, but as you probably already see, this is why correcting your spine is so much better for your health. The very last stat that I'll share with you is that before we go over the x-rays, is simply this. It's called the function chart. So when I talk about function, it's really how your body heals. So, and if 100% is perfect function, 0% is death, on average you have to lose at least 40% of the function to get a symptom. So this is why you hear people say, it was all downhill after 30 or 40 or 50. Anybody ever heard somebody say that? It just had 3 different things develop all at once. And the reason for that is because, again, from 100% to 60%, you're going to feel about the same. So again, if you're in a car accident, you could go from 100% to below 60% in 2 seconds. But most people, it's the wear and tear of their hobbies, their job, their lifestyle that causes these problems to develop as they age. And here's the biggest problem with it. By the time it's that low in function and you finally get the symptom, what do most people do? If you get a symptom, they what?
Get a drug.
Good job. You probably heard this before, but they tend to go to their doctor, right? So if they develop a symptom, most people in America are going to go see their family doctor, and 90% of the time, if you walk into a doctor's office, you're going to come out with what, miss?
A drug.
A prescription of some type. Now again, can that save your life?
Yes.
Absolutely. If you're in a car accident, had a heart attack, had a stroke, best medical technology in the world, you can have your life saved in America better than any other country in the world. The problem is 90% of those drugs aren't for life-saving interventions. They're something that you're going to be on for the rest of your life. And so again, that's not fixing the problem, that's covering up a symptom. Now if you cover up a symptom long enough, your body does not stay the same. An easy example of that, think of somebody you know that's got high blood pressure. And everybody do that for a second. Okay, so if you have high blood pressure and they get their first drug, how often do they just stay on one drug for 10, 20 years? No, everybody in this room knows you end up on stronger drugs, water pills, multiple things to get the same result. So if you need more medication to get the same result, are you staying the same or are you getting worse? Worse. Your body's getting worse, which again means that the function of that organ or the function of your body is getting worse. Now I know there's not a single person in this room that's here for more drugs, that's here to cover up their problem. If you're here, you want to fix it. And so to correct it, you have to start to improve your function. So as you improve the function, you're going to start to feel better. Again, the most common thing is to start to correct your spine to receive adjustments, but whether it's losing weight or decreasing inflammation, whatever it is, if you improve the function of your body, you're going to start to feel better. Your body's going to start to heal. This is the next biggest problem. This is for some of those people that I meet that, for instance, go to the chiropractor only when they hurt, or as long as they feel good, they assume they're healthy. It's probably the number one thing I hear people say is, I'm healthy if I feel good. Now, think about this. As soon as you get past this 60% mark, you're usually going to feel good. But what would happen if you stopped the exact thing that was getting you the result and keep the same job, habit, lifestyle? How quickly do you go back?
Pretty quick.
So everybody's in agreement. Now so again, if you wait till you feel better and then you stop, this is how I see people develop chronic disease, chronic and major arthritis, blow discs out, whatever it might be, is because they live in a state of health that's here, but they think every time they feel good, they're getting all the way over here. So our goal, and the reason why we ask you to take this extra half hour out of your evening, is very simply because when you go over your x-rays and your treatment plan tonight, the goal is to get you as close to here as physically possible, as close to 100% as is possible, and then maintain it. And that's why we believe that maintenance is a separate decision, because you need to get there first. Because I will tell you, I've never met somebody that wanted to feel better for 2 weeks. Right? If you're going to spend time, effort, and money to be here, you want it to correct, you want to heal, you want your body to be healthier for being here. And so that's why we do this. Now, when you look at your spine tonight, there's a few very simple concepts. Number one, your spine has to be straight from the front. Completely straight from the front with level hips. From the side, you need to have 35 to 45 degree curves. What happens, whether it's a car accident, sports injury, sitting at a desk, if you start to lose this curve, it makes it very easy for your spine to shift. Now this pinching, can everybody see that? Everybody see where that pinch? This pinching or pressure, medically that's called subluxation. It's a big word which really just means misalignment of your spine, pinching the nerves, which of course could cause pain, but affects wherever those nerves go. Take this to an extreme. Anybody know what this is called?
Scoliosis.
It's called scoliosis. So scoliosis is a whole lot of subluxation. Now if you look at this, healthy or sick? It's not good, right? So again, now since 1981, this is a medical diagnosis. The Journal of Orthopedic Medicine said that if you have scoliosis and it's unchecked, it will take somewhere between 14 and 20 years of somebody's life expectancy. Now, just to compare that, unchecked diabetes takes 16 to 22. And every person in this room knows how bad it would be if your blood sugar was skyrocketing out of control and how bad that would be for your health. Now again, scoliosis is nearly the same. This is why they check kids when they're in school. Because again, think about it, when you go to for your physical, they check for hernia, they check blood pressure, they do all these things, but the doctor always runs their finger down their back looking to see if they have this, because they know what it caused. Now the good part is if you even mildly correct this, if you start to receive treatment, there's been no repeat studies that it shows that it has to take any years off your life, that you have to have the problem, that you have to be sick or unhealthy, but again, you have to find it and then correct the cause. Right? Does that make sense for everybody? Last thing to mention here, these spaces between the bones, these are called disc spaces. I'm sure everyone in this room's heard of a bulged or herniated disc before. Discs feel nothing, but the nerve comes out right behind the disc. Now, research shows that your discs can last at least 140 years without wearing out. So then why do they? Again, very simply, they don't wear out when your spine's moving completely. They wear out when your hips look like this. Now, let's just say this person's a runner and they continue to run more than somebody else. Is this good or bad for their back? Bad. So good for their heart, good for their muscles, but are they going to wear their back out quicker by having their spine out of alignment? Exactly. Now, again, if you lose the curve, look at how quickly or how much more pressure that puts on the disc back. So on average, it takes 25,000 bad motions to wear a disc out enough for it to bulge. This is why you hear somebody say, I bent over to pick up a pencil and my back gave out. Or I throw my back out twice a year. You hear these things? Again, how come if it's enough to wear one disc out, how come they all don't wear out? It's because it's an isolated problem, right? So this is why people get pain in their back. This is why people get arthritis in one spot, because again, as it shifts out of place and this part gets stuck, you can no longer get fluid and it starts to deteriorate at a radically faster rate. And you'll see that here in just a moment. Here's the good news. Again, there has to be good news. As you correct it, as you restore motion, what it allows it to do is pump more fluid into the disc, and it allows it to suck back in, and then your body can lay connective tissue and heal it. So in most cases, you can heal from a problem, but you have to get to the cause of the problem. Make sense to everybody? So for the last 15 or 18 minutes here, we're going to go over x-ray examples, starting right at the top. So this is a side view of the neck. Teeth are right here, back of the skull is here. Perfect 45-degree curve. this curve is also called the arc of life. It's coined by a neurologist. And the reason they call your neck the arc of life is because it's the closest to your brain. So for your brain to send a signal to your big toe, to your colon, to your heart, the majority of the signals go right through here. One of the best examples of that is Christopher Reeve. How many people remember Christopher Reeve? So for those of you younger people here that don't remember, played Superman on television in the 70s. So you can, even if you've never seen him before, you can imagine what he looked like to play a superhero. Now he was bucked off a horse, hit his chin, broke his neck, never moved his arms or his legs again. He was paralyzed. But for those of you that do remember him, you remember that just to stay alive, he had that big breathing machine on his wheelchair. He had to have a pacemaker put in for his heart. He had a feeding tube, and they had to cut a hole in his colon, and every day a nurse would push on his colon. He'd go to the bathroom in a colostomy bag. But the reason that I talk about Christopher Reeve is because if you remember him on TV, you also remember what he looked like in the wheelchair. And for those of you that do, you can take that mental picture right now, but you remember how much older he looked. He didn't look like Superman when he was in the wheelchair, even his complexion, his skin, everything. And the thing is, he was only alive 9 years after his injury. But in his autopsy, it stated that it was if he was 30 years older than his biological age, his organs were. And why is that? It's called accelerated aging. And what that means is when he broke his neck and he damaged his spinal cord, his brain could no longer tell his organs how to heal effectively, and so he aged dramatically more quickly. So why does that matter to you? Well, obviously nobody in this room has a broken neck. Nobody's in a wheelchair at the moment. But again, the thing is that what the research shows is if you lose even 50% of the curve in your spine, you stretch or elongate your spinal cord enough that it will start to thin. And if your spinal cord is thinning, it's going to cause accelerated aging. So again, I'm going to show you some examples of that in just a moment, but I think it's so important to understand this is why correcting your spine and then maintaining it affects your health so dramatically. So again, that's the curve. I showed you the disc spaces. These, if you look at the x-ray, again, they need to be open and even with the spacing between. Now these top two bones, they look different than all the rest. This is the part that surrounds and protects your brainstem. Has to be parallel to the skull with, again, nice open spacing here. So this is normal. Now what I'll show you over these next several is the different phases of subluxation or phases of degeneration. So again, this is a normal curve. You should be able to see the disc spaces open. This is a cadaver, so that's the actual spinal cord. These yellow ones are the discs. Those are the bones. Again, notice how thick the spinal cord is, how much spacing there is in the canal there. And in the curve, the spinal cord is very relaxed. The nerves are open. The person can be healthy. Phase 1 is any shift outside of normal that will not heal on its own. So some people in phase 1 have symptoms, some people don't. It just depends how long and if it's hitting any of the things that cause it yet. Now phase 2 is when it's been there 10 to 20 years. Now in this phase, you might notice a few things. So here's the normal discs. Can everybody see how much more thin these are? You'll also look at the difference in the spacing for the spinal cord here. So these spurs that are on the end, that's called osteoarthritis. If we look at your spine tonight and you have thin discs or bone spurs or osteoarthritis, it takes somewhere between 10 and 20 years from the initial injury before you can even see it on an x-ray. The most amazing thing about your body is that even if you're in this phase when you look at your spine, it's still 100% correctable. You can change the shape of the spine, your body typically can heal through all the symptoms, and you can truly be healthy. And again, the other part that I like is it doesn't take as long to get there as it took to correct it as it took to get there. So again, it typically takes somewhere between 12 and 24 months to hit the maximum correction that you'll see in your spine. That's not what we're going through tonight. What we're going through tonight is what's called a corrective plan. Ranges anywhere between 3 and 9 months, depending on the severity of where you're at. It will get you the symptom relief that you want, the majority of the correction that you need, and then from there, I believe it's a separate decision again to continue to come in and maintain it. Now, phase 3, this takes 20 to 40 years. Can everybody see how thin these discs are getting? See how the bones themselves are deteriorating? Again, phase 3 takes 20 to 40 years, but at this point, you'll actually see the spinal cord getting much more thin. The other thing is, for those people that have heard of degenerative disc disease, when you hear about them wearing out, if you notice, so this is a normal disc. Can everybody see the spacing there? See how there's just no material left? Because again, when this can't move, the body deteriorates. It not only causes discomfort, it deteriorates your health. Now keep this in mind, these discs are the same age, so why is this part unhealthy and this part healthy? It's because of the alignment. It's because of the things that have happened, the strains, the stresses, the injuries over time, and that's again how you might have symptoms in one area and not another. Now again, the amazing thing about your body, on average we'll see at least 80% improvement even in phase 3. And so you're still going to feel dramatically better, you're going to heal, you're going to be healthy, and probably just as importantly, you're going to stop it from continuing. Because how many people, if they ignore a problem, have no bad ramifications? Right? If it's trending that way, it will continue to get worse until you do something that actually corrects it. So the last phase I'll show you is phase 4. There's not a single person in this room that's in phase 4. But the reason I show phase 4 is very simply because there are some people who wait too long. And in that case, again, this is when it all fuses together. It will not correct. Your body cannot undo fusions. And again, this isn't surgical fusions. This is degenerative or arthritic fusions. So this whole area is all fused together. You can see the huge bone spurs if you look here, and you can see everything in the spinal cord is thin. So the reason I bring up phase 4 is although we tell that person when they come in for their first adjustment, we tell them very simply, as much as I'd like to help you, it's very unlikely that you're going to see any change. Now that's a difficult thing to tell someone, but the other part of it is, and the thing that I think is so interesting is that when we say that, every single person I've told that has said something along the lines of, I knew I should have done something about this sooner, right? Because I wonder how many people in this room feel like they're not busy. Nobody ever raises their hand, right? How many people have ever dropped everything to rush to the hospital for a sick family member? Likely nearly everyone is. So why? What's the difference? Because everybody in this room knows that health has to be a priority, but often they push it to the back burner and try and push through because of, they're working 2 jobs, their kids are little, money's tight. You can make all the excuses, you can make all the justifications, but the reality is if you don't have your health, you don't get to do any of the other things that you like or want to do. And we certainly hope that never happens for anybody in this room. So those are the examples. Now we're going to look at some x-ray examples to get your eyes used to this. So this is the initial x-ray I showed you. Can everybody see the progressive loss of curvature right here? So again, if you look at this, one of the reasons I show these 3 people is because of their age. So this man, this is Dan, he's 61 years old. Technically, according to his blood tests and how he feels, he's in perfect health. Joe right here is 72 when I took that x-ray. Sarah is 17. So 17 years old. So how can someone 17 years old look worse than this person? It's not how long it's been there. Or it's not how old you are, it's how long the problem has been there. Right? So again, 61 perfect health, 72. I took this x-ray almost 7 years ago now. And what I love about him, for Joe, he just wrote, enjoy retirement. That was what he wrote on his initial paperwork because he could feel himself slowing down. He had recently retired, so had his wife. They wanted to live their best life. And I'll tell you, Joe's 79 at this point. He still plays golf. He takes care of his own yard. They live at home. Again, the things that you want to do as you age. Now, Sarah at 17, she's got a reverse curve. She's got whiplash, like we mentioned. Can everybody see the difference in the spacing right here? So when I say she's the one that gets migraines, can everybody see why? She's the one that has allergy and sinus problems. She's the one that takes ibuprofen or Tylenol every single morning just to get through the pain. Everybody can see why. And lastly, if you look, remember when we talked about discs and arthritis? She has as much arthritis at 17 as Joe had at 72. I've sent that x-ray to a radiologist. They stated that the initial injury was at least 15 years prior to that x-ray being taken. Now everybody should be able to do the math on that. If you subtract 15 from 17, at the oldest she was 2 years old when she had her initial injury. Yet her parents have no idea what caused it. In fact, and this is again the tricky part for a lot of people, she had no symptoms until she was 7, which is when she got put on a seasonal allergy medication. She did not start to get neck pain until she was 12. She didn't start to have migraines until she was 15. So again, think about how much time it took for her to finally feel the problem. Now here's the good part. As she starts to get adjusted, she's going to start to heal. Now, when somebody asks me what's the difference between your clinic and maybe the chiropractor that I used to go to or something like that, if I could simplify it into one thing, is that we take post x-rays. So you're not only going to feel better, you are going to be able to physically see objective changes as you continue forward. Now this right here, this is a 9-week x-ray. Now keep in mind, not by any means perfect, but can everybody see some of the changes right here? Now I'm going to go ahead and point out 3. So it went from a reverse curve to straight. Just this amount of change was enough for her to stop having to take pain meds every single morning. Now can everybody see the spacing improvement right here? And in the 9 weeks she'd been coming, she went from 3 to 5 migraines a week while on a preventative medicine to she had 1 that month. Again, radically different. As she continued to get adjusted, within 6 months, she went back to her doctor. Her doctor took her both off her allergy and her sinus medication. And she's been off all medications for over 3 years now. So again, radically different. But now if you think about this, what does it take to get this change? And so that's such an important to think about. No different than what does it take to get fit? What does it take to get healthy? What does it take to lose weight? It takes both frequency and time, right? It took time to get there. It's going to take time to correct. And so some adults have to get adjusted every single day in the beginning. Somebody that's been in a major car accident. We have a guy right now, he was hit by a semi. You can imagine how bad that damaged his body, and they'll come in every single day. But again, most adults will start at 3 days a week or twice a week with the goal of getting to once a week or twice a month as fast as is physically possible. But the reason that you have to get adjusted more frequently in the beginning is you aren't just aligning the spine. What you have to be out of place or out of alignment, you have scar tissue, muscle adhesions, muscle memory. Again, you have to break through all these things, no different than if you have to put braces on your teeth. You don't put them on for a week. On average, it takes 2 to 4 years to align your teeth by gluing metal to them and then tweaking it, and the national average is $6,500 just to fix your jaw or to fix your smile. The great thing is your spine, again, like we talked about, can be done in about half of that, but in the beginning it takes the frequency. So when I say that Sarah started 3 days a week, or needed to start at 3 days a week, can everybody see why that was the case? And again, as we said, she's spaced out, she's doing great. But the last thing that I'll say is think about for just a moment somebody that you know that deserves better health but doesn't have it, that's in pain, that's gone to a bunch of doctors. So again, think about if Sarah's neighbor had never told her parents about our clinic, what would have continued to happen for her? And we all know people that are suffering like this. And so this is why so many people are referred in here, is because what they do is they find out how to fix it and how to be healthier. Now the last couple x-rays that I'll show you here, these are x-rays from the front. So the reason I show less x-rays from the front is I think most people already understand your spine has to be straight, your hips have to be level. If you shift off at all, it's going to put pressure on your nerves and it's going to cause a problem. So if you look here, can everybody see this curvature? So there's the center line. So this is Jane. First of all, before I show you or tell you about her, think for just a moment of what she might deal with. You know, I can tell you I've done this long enough. I've had people talk about her back pain, her digestive problems, her potential scoliosis, they go through all these different things. The reality is Jane has never felt a single health problem. Jane is here because her mom is. Her mom has neck pain and back pain and headaches and all the things you might think of. It's her mother and her father was with her when she viewed her x-rays. Her father dealt with headaches. He ended up starting right away with mom. As they continued to heal, continued to feel better, continued to get rid of their pain and build their health, they ended up deciding to bring their oldest daughter in. She was somebody who was in no pain, but she had taken Claritin D for 3 years. She had supposedly seasonal allergies, but she had them year-round, and they just seemed to be progressively getting worse. Within several months, she was able to get off the Claritin. Her body was able to adapt. And so as the rest of them were switching to maintenance, they had what I like to call the light bulb effect. And if you don't know what I mean, what I mean by that is they decided instead of waiting for Jane to have a health problem, they would help her prevent it, truly prevent the problem. So you can imagine, considering that she had no symptoms whatsoever, they were very surprised to see this much curve. Now I'll tell you, this much curve in a 6-year-old puts them in the moderate to high risk of developing scoliosis, certainly puts them at risk for all the things that we've already talked about. But ask yourself this question: why then does she feel nothing? And I hope your mind goes right to this. She's somewhere over here. Right? Because she just hasn't had the problem long enough for her body to decrease in function enough to develop the symptom. So anyway, her parents got her started. She started on a corrective plan. Her corrective plan was 4 months. And one of the coolest things about kids is they change so much faster. So this is her 4-month x-ray. Now keep in mind, medically this is no symptoms to no symptoms. But if I ask every person in this room which person's healthier, how many people's minds shift to the right? So if that's the case, then you have to realize that the reason you feel that that person's healthier is because neurologically they're healthier, which means their body's able to build their immune system stronger, prevent disease before she ever felt it, and live a better life. Now again, that's very philosophical. Pain is a great motivator. Can everybody agree if you're in enough pain, it's easier to move or to make changes or prioritize? But so this is her parents making a decision for her to truly help build her health. And so, one of the things that's interesting to think about is if I asked, again, everybody in this room, do you believe in practicing preventative medicine for your family? Every person would say yes. Yeah, what is preventative medicine? Because most people think preventative medicine is going to get a colonoscopy or getting their blood work done, and all those things are good, but that's actually early detection. What out of all the medical tests that you do actually makes you healthier? It doesn't. It catches it early, which there's some merit for, but if you're going to prevent disease, it's giving your body ways to fuel it and be healthier. And so again, this is why so many kids get adjusted. Sure, we see kids for colic and ear infections and digestive problems and reflux and ADD and a lot of the stuff that might be more classic to bring your child, but we see lots of kids that have absolutely no symptoms. We see lots of adults that have absolutely no symptoms because they want to build their health and actually prevent disease. And that's why people come in as families. So very last story I'm going to share with you this evening is one that unfortunately is a little bit the opposite for a period of time. It's a story about a little girl named Elle. Now Elle is referred in here by her teacher. Now that might not seem like a big deal, but I will tell you, in Illinois, you have to be very careful as an educator about making health recommendations for a child. But Elle was born a very healthy little girl. But at 3 years old, she fell down the stairs, she got a concussion, and all of a sudden her immune system got worse. At 5 years old, she flipped head over heels off her bike, got a second concussion. This time, not only did she have significantly worse health, she started to develop very weird and very extreme symptoms. She developed all the symptoms for Lyme's disease. She started to have extreme swollen joints. She would miss school for 1 or 2 weeks at a time. She was in a massive amount of pain. It was very bad for her family, and she had great parents. Like probably everybody in this room would do. They took her to the best doctors in the world. They went to, Children's Hospital in Chicago and St. Louis. They went up to the Mayo Clinic up in Minnesota. They had gone to 4 different children's hospitals, seen all these different specialists. They'd actually seen various chiropractors previously, and the only thing that was getting her any relief was a naturopath all the way down to St. Louis. So once a month, they'd drive 4.5 hours both ways just to give her the slightest bit of relief or immune system improvement. She was on all these supplements, all this stuff. And in the first semester of her year, when she was 7 years old, she missed more than 4 weeks of school. And thankfully, like I said, it was her teacher, who was herself and her entire family, come in here and get adjusted, said, I can't push you to do this, but I just want you to know about a place that I go, and I think it might be the answer for you. And so they've come in, and they've started to get adjusted. And the reason I'll probably remember this for the rest of my life is she was one of those very sweet but very quiet little kids. So every time Elle would come in and get adjusted, I'd say, "Hey Elle, how are you?" And she'd say, "Fine," and she'd lay down every single time. And Sometimes her parents would say, well, she just missed the last week of school. Other times they say she felt great, but she never say anything different. And so for about 6 weeks, she did this. And then I'll remember it because it was actually on my birthday. It was on December 22nd. I said, Elle, how are you? And she said, fine. She laid down. And before I could go to adjust her, she said, actually, I'm great. And it caught me by surprise to the point that I sat her up and I asked her why. And she said, well, because I'm not going to be sick for Christmas, which many of us would take for granted, but what they had never mentioned, every year since her initial injury when she was 3, she had been sick the week of and the week after Christmas. She was in the hospital one time. She had missed another family gathering where they had to stay home, but she had never gotten to play with her friends over Christmas break because she had always been so sick over that time. And so I can tell you that year she wasn't sick for Christmas. Not only that, she got her first cold on January 25th. And that was more than a year ago. She is doing radically well. You could not tell that this was a sick kid if you saw her in here with her family this week, and they got adjusted on Tuesday. But the thing about that is without her teacher, she would still be living that life. And so as I finish here, I want to make sure and make a very clear divide right now. Tonight is completely about you. You're going to go, there's 4 doctors showing x-rays here tonight. You're going to go view your x-rays, go over your treatment plan and see how you're going to get healthy. But the reason I bring those stories up is when we go over your x-rays, we ask 2 very simple things of you. Number 1, care about your health. Make your appointments, follow the recommendations, and you will get the results that you're talking about, but you have to commit to be here. In fact, we strongly encourage you to only start treatment tonight if you're ready to make that commitment in time to show up for your appointments and do the things that we ask of you to get those results. The second thing is when you feel like this is a great place for people to get healthy, we ask that you share that with the people you love and care about. And I know that you probably already do that, but the reason I ask you to do it specifically is very simply, I have so many stories that I could go on and on about, so much like Elle's and so much like Jane's, where they deserve better health, but they just didn't know how to get it. And they're so thankful for the person that told them about the clinic and gave them a different way to be able to be healthy. For that reason and that reason only is the reason that we keep our first visit so inexpensive. It's $25 for the initial exam portion of their appointment, so that cost should never be a reason that someone does not come in and at least see what's going on with their health. From there, they can make their own decision. But we believe if we're going to make it your responsibility to help the people you love and care about, we need to make it easy on our end. And that's why we have 5 doctors. That's why we have so much opportunity. That's why we're open so many hours, is to give them the opportunity to have their best health, just like you have yours. So with that being said, we're about to break up individually. I will tell you, this is your last long appointment. Average appointment time is 20 to 25 minutes. When you go over your x-rays, it typically takes 5 to 6 minutes. And there are, like I said, 5 doctors showing x-rays, so everyone should be done within the next 20 minutes or so. Okay? Thanks for your time.